Hello and welcome to another episode of Damn Interesting Week. We are so glad you've decided to join us. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And this was a damn interesting week. So let's get started with our first link.
First link.
All right, from the BBC. Thieves have stolen a Renoir, Cézanne, and Matisse paintings in a 3-minute Italian heist.
Oh.
Yep, the Renoir painting is called Les Poissons. It's a bunch of fish. Then the Cézanne was Still Life with Cherries, and the Matisse painting was Odalisque on the Terrace. So here's what happened. The thieves involved in the robbery, they forced their way through the main door to the Villa dei Capolavori. Forgive
Yes,
me.
teach me how they did this.
Well, I mean, given how frequent they've been and how direct they've been, it doesn't seem all that hard. You just have to be brazen and organized. But so we're in the Parma countryside where this is located. They forced their way in through the main door. They nabbed the paintings from the French room on the building's first floor. And they did seem to intend to steal more if it had not been for the alarms going off and the police being called. How did they escape? Well, the criminals escaped by climbing over a fence.
Well, all right.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does seem like, you know, all the movies want heists to be like these 6-week planning sessions with all these secret, we're going to Catherine Zeta-Jones our way around the lasers. And every time a real heist happens, they just burst through and grab and leave. And, you know, is it a lack of guards standing at all the doors?
To be fair, they may have had to practice like hurdling, jumping.
Right. Fences are tall.
Yeah. Now, the stolen paintings had a combined worth of about 9 million euros. Les Poissons alone was worth 6 million euros, making this one of the most significant art thefts in Italy in recent years. And good luck. Start to upgrade some of those museum systems. I mean, at least it had an alarm because
Yeah.
goodness knows how much they would have gotten away with had it not been.
But again, like police response times, 3 minutes is all they need to get in and grab 9 million euros worth of stuff.
Yep.
Maybe put the more expensive stuff in the back. Like you have to
That's
go a
right.
little further into the building to
Yeah.
get to it. I don't know, man.
Or the second floor. I mean, at least then you have to coordinate a ladder or like one of those, you know, things that they did in Paris. It increases the complexity versus you can just hop over the fence when you're done.
Yeah.
Just everything's going to be behind plexiglass now.
Ugh.
That's fine. Whatever.
Well, I mean, if it's UV treated, you know, maybe
Yeah,
it'll help the paintings exist longer and, you know, keep them from getting splashed with paint by activists.
Yeah, exactly. You got multiple fronts to have to defend against these days.
That's right.
I think the issue is just that it's not enough like the movies. Like every painting should be behind a rotating wall.
Oh, yeah.
And we need boulder puzzles. Like that.
Yes!
That's a real deterrent.
And
you
also,
know?
if you solve the puzzle, you deserve to have the painting. So, like,
All right. Next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from The Independent. We're going to stay in some sketchy territory. Everest guides accused of poisoning foreign climbers to force fake rescues in $20 million scam.
wow.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is like
Okay.
an operation. So, Mount Everest guides have been accused of secretly drugging foreign climbers to trigger expensive aerial evacuations, according to an investigation by the Nepali police. A total of 32 people have been charged and 11 arrests made so far.
Wow.
The scale of the scam appears to be vast, affecting 4,782 international climbers between 2022 and 2025.
Whoa. Over just 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot and concentrated.
Yeah.
Police said more than 300 cases of alleged fake rescues have been uncovered, with bills totaling nearly $20 million charged to climbers and insurers.
Wow.
Well, it makes sense. You don't go after the little nursing homes, which are barely scraping by if you want to commit insurance fraud. You go after the big whales who want to prove something to themselves by having climbed Everest.
Yeah.
Right?
And the
Yeah.
Sherpas who do this every day are like, oh, you're not getting to the top. I'm poisoning you. Like, that's crazy.
I'm tired of your BS.
Yeah. You're just going to leave a corpse up there anyway. We're
Yeah, yeah.
doing it for the mountain.
You're worth a lot more on a helicopter than buried in the snow. So,
So, Investigators say the scam involved multiple actors across the trekking ecosystem, including Sherpas, trekking company owners, helicopter operators, and hospital executives.
Oh.
So, like, everybody's in on it.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, that line on Everest is too long. Everybody there is super rich. Why don't we just skim off the top, by which I mean poisoning people?
Yeah.
So, investigators say guides used a range of methods to force helicopter evacuations, including faked medical emergencies and lacing food with large amounts of baking powder to simulate gastric distress commonly associated with altitude sickness.
Oh.
You gotta hand it to him. It's pretty clever.
Yeah, because it's not going to kill him. It's just going to make him
Right.
sick enough that you have to get him off. But then, of course, the people in the hospital will be like, you definitely don't have altitude sickness, buddy. So they got to be in
Which
on
is
it,
why
too.
the executives have to get in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mount Everest to hospital pipeline, I guess. So others were given medications with excessive amounts of water to trigger symptoms. After trekkers reported nausea, dizziness, or body aches, they were advised to descend and agree to costly emergency helicopter evacuations. Once a rescue was triggered, operators inflated costs by billing each passenger as if they had taken a separate helicopter flight, even when multiple people were flown together. Fake flight records and forged medical documents were then used to support exaggerated insurance claims, while hospitals created false admission and treatment reports, in some cases for tourists who were not actually receiving care. And this is not the first time a fake rescue network has been exposed, with a Kathmandu Post investigation in 2018 prompting a 700-page report produced by the government along with the promise of reforms. However, the scams appear to have continued. Manoj Kumar, KC, chief of the CIB, told the Post that this was due to lax punitive action. Travel insurance companies have previously threatened to remove their Nepal coverage if the scams continued, and reports from 2019 also detail that some foreign visitors would connive with trekking firms in return for cut-price expeditions. Their insurance documents were checked before they were accepted on the trip to ensure that the helicopter firm and its agent would be paid off. Simon Calder, travel correspondent of The Independent, said, "The vast majority of people and organizations involved in tourism in Nepal are honest and focused on providing the best possible experience. It's important to seek reliable recommendations before choosing a company for your trip." But I mean, like, it's a pretty big scam. Like, everybody down the chain is lying to you if you're the target.
Well, and like a lot of people wouldn't even care if the insurance company is getting scammed, but it's like, no, you have to be poisoned and cut your trip short, and everything
Yeah.
that you came here wanting is not going to work. I don't blame the climbers who were like, well, how about you cut me in on it then? Like,
Yeah.
that at least, you know, they got half a trip and then they got a nice leisurely ride down instead of having to be poisoned for it.
And even for the doctors, you know, because I'm sure it's easier to treat extra gas than, say, frostbite
Right,
or
yeah.
other things for those people.
Yeah. Well, I need a mountain in my neighborhood is what it sounds like. And then I can start up my own business.
Oh, yeah. Bring new meaning to MLM.
Yes. It's
I mean, there's an acronym, mountain level marketing or something.
Oh.
Next link.
Next link.
Okay, this comes from The Guardian. And I have to say, this article is beautiful. I'm going to read it, but I'm not going to do it justice. So please also look at this article because there's an interactive kind of map. Now, it's not a fun, happy interactive map because this is the title. This feels fragile. How a satellite smashing chain reaction could spiral out of control.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
So let's go back in time a little bit. In 1957, Soviet Union scientists achieved a historic breakthrough, sending a metal ball with 4 radio antennae called Sputnik so high and speeding so fast that it would spin in orbit around the Earth. This marked the first steps in the space age, with a handful of objects orbiting the planet by the end of the 1950s. By the end of the 70s, over 14,000 tracked objects had been launched. And this is where we get to see on the globe that you all can't see all the little dots spinning around the globe. And it's kind of horrifying because they keep increasing as we go through these slides. By the end of the 90s, even more satellites had been launched. Around 20,000 objects were being tracked in orbit at the turn of the millennium. But wait, there's more. In the 21st century, private companies began to launch satellites at unprecedented rates. Today, Earth's orbit is packed with thousands of satellites and fragments, around 32,000 in total. So some reports suggest by the end of the decade, there could be more than 60,000 active satellites in space.
Mm.
And over time, these satellites gradually lose altitude due to atmospheric drag, eventually re-entering the atmosphere and usually being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's also space debris,
Mm.
discarded rocket stages, remnants of defunct satellites, as well as fragments from collisions between two satellites. The big fear is that future collisions will cause a domino effect where the Earth's orbit will become cluttered with tiny, high-speed bits of metal that could create a near impenetrable layer of debris that would make space launches so dangerous it would essentially trap humans on Earth. For me, that is the greatest irony of mankind.
Yeah. We build our own prison bars. Yep.
Right, with our reckless exploration.
Mhm.
Yeah, we end up trapping ourselves. Jonathan McDowell, who worked at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics until he retired this year, has spent decades compiling a list of objects launched into orbit. He says there is a genuine threat of a chain reaction from satellites smashing into each other, but it would happen over decades. The current danger level is sort of tolerable, he added with a nervous laugh.
Mhm.
The current system only works as it relies on constant cooperation. Satellite operators move their craft daily to avoid collisions. If they stopped, McDowell warns, it would take only a few days or weeks for this situation to spiral.
Mm.
All you need is for two players to screw up on the same day.
Mm.
That could never happen.
Right. Why would that?
Getting rid of large defunct satellites would help reduce the risk, he said. Space agencies are actively testing ways to deorbit satellites, including by capturing them with nets. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
Or a robotic arm attached to another satellite. Or by shooting them off course with high-powered lasers.
Oh, fun.
Where are they going to go? And will they be a problem eventually wherever we send them? And the answer is probably yes.
Hmm.
I have no yay on the end of that one. Sorry, y'all.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a version of this was basically the initial plot of a Neil Stephenson book called Seven Eves, where something hit the moon and the moon broke into a few pieces. And it took many, many years for the cascade to really happen. But that's exactly what happened in the book, is this idea of each of these chunks would occasionally hit each other, breaking them into smaller chunks. And as the number of chunks increased, the number of collisions increased. And you got this logarithmic thing where after a certain number of years, everything came raining down at once and everybody died. But but it was very specifically this idea of you think the big things are dangerous, but more little things is actually far more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get that layer, like you said, where, short of a space Roomba, I don't know how you get those picked up, the little ones.
Right. It's like trying to walk through a shotgun blast.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like the idea of the great filter, where in sci-fi, why haven't we heard from any of these other alien races or creatures if they're out there? It's because there's an extinction level event that every species meets. Turns out it's space trash.
Right.
You just wall yourself in and it sucks to be you.
Yeah. Only the reasonable ones get out, and we're not them. That's
Not yet. Not yet. I have hope. I still have hope for our Star Trek future.
Aw.
Old Star Trek, not new Star Trek.
Right. Of course. Obviously.
Let me be very clear. Yeah. Next link.
Next link.
All right, this next one is from SciShow, and it's called Antarctica Has an Accent, and it's weirder than you think.
Oh.
Now, full disclosure, it's not weirder than you think. It's an accent. The details are pretty subtle, but the details are there, and the fact that this accent emerged as quickly as it did is the weird part. And the video covers a fair amount of what even is an accent and why do we have them. And the short answer is neurological pruning. Basically, the human mouth is capable of forming and the human ear is capable of differentiating hundreds of phonemes. But no language on Earth even comes close to using them all, and our infant brains begin almost immediately, possibly even before we're born, paying more attention to the sounds that are common in our environment and ignoring those that aren't. So we very quickly lose the ability to distinguish between phonemes that don't matter to our native language, which is why, as just one example, Japanese speakers often have a hard time hearing the difference between the English sounds for R and L. And I know they used that example because their audience is English speaking, so it's going to be one they're more familiar with. But I don't love it as a stereotype, so I wanted to mention a few others just because I can. In the Chechen language, there are 4 different ways of pronouncing the letter T that English speakers generally can't differentiate. And in Mandarin, there are several different phonemes that all sound like the SH sound to us. That being said, English does use more phonemes than most. Our vowels in particular have about 20 variations, including both monophthongs and diphthongs, whereas most languages average between 5 and 6 vowel sounds. And of course, even within American English, there are vowel sounds that exist in some parts of the country, but not others. And they give the classic example of the name Mary, Robin Hood's Merry Men, and someone who is getting married. I said all of those differently because my father's from New Jersey, but
yeah, I heard a difference there.
Yeah, but a lot of American English speakers, especially here in Texas, would tell you it's Mary, Mary, and Mary.
Or right, when I had an ex-girlfriend named Wendy, and when she came to Texas, she was like, it's not Wendy.
Oh, yeah. I genuinely had a friend named Windy with an I, and so that's always going to be a hard one for me. But that's an example of accommodation, which is when accents begin to blend certain words into matching phonemes as a means of social reinforcement. Because when we're communicating with someone, we want to sound like them and we want them to sound like us. And we know this because in 2014, a team of researchers looked at people's brainwave activity while they were listening to speakers reading certain passages in different accents. And while the sort of factual language centers of the brain reacted the same in all cases, the emotional and social parts of the brain were far more active when listening to a speaker with the listener's own accent. And this has all sorts of implications for misinformation and who we trust versus who we're inherently suspicious of. But the nice thing is that we do apparently strive to create that emotional connection with someone we like by starting to speak the same as they do over time. And that has, it turns out, also been the case in Antarctica, in a place called the Halley Research Station. In the winter of 2019, it was staffed by 8 British, 1 American, 1 German, and 1 Icelandic researcher. A team of linguists made recordings of their accents before they went out there, and then continued to record their casual conversations together day by day as they spent the next 9 months isolated from the rest of the world. And in just those 9 months, they noticed changes already starting to happen. So first, some of the vowels began to converge into a smaller set of matching vowels that they all shared, and that was expected due to those accommodation tendencies that we already knew about, but they were maybe surprised to see it happening in such a short period of time. The second thing they found, however, was not at all expected, and that was that the researchers began, quote, fronting the vowel sound O, as in the word flow or code, which meant they were pronouncing it closer to the front of the mouth. So instead of O, it was more like O.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a little like, ew. Yeah. So clearly we can hear a difference. I know there was a difference because I could feel myself using a different part of my mouth to say it, but it's the kind of thing where if you grew up speaking a language where those two sounds meant different things, you would absolutely be able to hear the difference, and you would think that we're foolish for insisting they might sound the same. But linguists are professionals, so they could hear the difference. And the key thing about the fronting of this particular vowel sound is that none of the accents that anyone came in with already did this. This was a new phoneme that everyone sort of started unconsciously agreeing on and was not the result of accommodation toward any other person. Now, of course, the researchers are hesitant to draw any conclusions about this until they can do more studies, but I am not bound by such academic rigor, so I've got some theories. Number one, I think it's possible that the temperature had something to do with it. Because even inside, those Antarctic research stations are cold all the time. And when I made that sound just then, the key was I had to sort of tighten my jaw to keep everything up front, right?
Like we're in Minnesota, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, but I think if you looked at accents in cold areas versus accents in very warm areas, you would find more of those fronting vowels.
Yeah, or like in Texas, right? Yeah, it's more in the back. Like, I'm tired.
It's hot. You're trying to get more air down your gullet so you can cool off. And, as for why the accent started developing so quickly, again, I think it's partly because this is such an extreme environment, such that, a long history of people going insane down there. So I think that added layer of desperation could speed up the accommodation instinct, right? You're so desperate for anybody on this isolated wasteland where you might die at any moment. Which I think also means, for example, a new accent would develop much more quickly on like an interplanetary space mission, right?
Yeah.
So anybody who goes off planet for more than 9 months, they might start talking weird. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm wondering too, the level of what the accent changed per person, because that's going to vary. I grew up with a bunch of South Africans, and most of them that were in my age came over when they were 4 and 5. No accents. But their brothers and sisters who came in when they were 12 and 13, heavily accented. Or like musicians typically will adopt the accent a little quicker.
Yeah, there's definitely people who can hear more sounds because they've been training to listen to more sounds from a young age. So they don't, even if they pronounce things a certain way just because that's their habit, they can hear the difference in other people's phonemes.
Right. And the more tired I get, the longer those vowels get too.
Yeah, well, and they didn't follow up with these researchers after they left Antarctica to see how quickly they went back to their native accents after being back around their families. I imagine it was probably pretty quickly. But...
Pretty quick because they got made fun of by their kids.
Right. Or the trauma stayed with them for life and they sound like they're from Antarctica forever. Next link?
Next link.
All right, from Science Daily. Scientists are shocked to find that their own lab gloves may be skewing microplastics data.
Oh.
Well, that's kind of good news.
Yeah, it's definitely good news because now we know more than we did previously, which is usually an improvement. But this is specifically looking at a University of Michigan study, which is suggesting that nitrile and latex gloves can unintentionally transfer particles onto lab tools that are used to analyze air, water, and other environmental samples. The contamination comes from stearates, which are not plastics, but can closely resemble them during testing. And because of this, scientists may be detecting particles that are not true microplastics. So let's look at stearates, which are salt-based, soap-like substances, which are added to disposable gloves, basically just to help them separate easily from molds when they're being manufactured. Now, to be clear, the researchers are emphasizing this does not mean microplastics are not a real problem.
Right.
We might be overestimating microplastics, but there should be none. There's still a lot out there, and that's still a problem.
Yeah, there's still plenty you can see with your eyes.
Yes.
They might raise a few microscopic particles in there, but you've still got chunks of credit card floating in the ocean.
Exactly. It's becoming an issue when we're trying to calculate exactly how much, which is why they figured this out. Specifically, the discovery began during a collaborative project, which was looking at airborne microplastics in Michigan. They collected air samples, and in order to capture particles, the team used air samplers equipped with metal surfaces that collect material from the atmosphere. The samples were then analyzed using light-based spectroscopy to identify the types of particles present. But when reviewing the results, the number of detected microplastics was thousands of times higher than expected. And it led to, according to the researchers, a wild goose chase of trying to figure out where this contamination could possibly have come from, because we knew this number was just far too high to be correct. They said that throughout the process of figuring it out, was it the plastic squirt bottle? Was it particles in the atmosphere of the lab where we were preparing the substrates? They finally traced it down to gloves. And to investigate further, they tested 7 different types of gloves, including nitrile, latex, and clean room varieties, along with commonly used methods for identifying microplastics. Their experiments recreated typical lab conditions like a gloved hand touching filters, microscope slides, and other equipment used during analysis. And even these routine interactions transferred particles from the gloves to testing surfaces. And on average, the gloves introduced around 2,000 false positive signals per square millimeter.
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Enormously huge. So the clean room gloves performed significantly better because they're made without stearate coatings and they're intended for use in highly controlled environments. The team also explored whether it was possible to visually tell apart real microplastics from stearate particles. So they used scanning, electron microscopy, and light-based microscopy. They found that stearates look nearly identical to polyethylene, which is a really common plastic. So they've been working on developing methods to separate true microplastics from glove-related contamination. And for microplastics researchers who have had these impacted data sets, there's still hope to recover them and find a true quantity of microplastics. So the findings highlight the importance of chemistry expertise. It's a challenging field to work in because there's plastic everywhere, but that's also why they need chemists and people who understand chemical structure to be working in the field.
Were they not before?
Right.
Probably not enough.
Right. So is it a given that the stearates are not dangerous?
No.
Like, if you're putting that many particles onto a square millimeter and you're wearing these gloves for hours at a time, you're getting them all in your hands. Like,
and in your gut when you do surgery.
And this is specifically looking at microplastics, but knowing that these stearates can warp results, what other tests have we been doing with these gloves that might be plasticized?
Yeah, literally everything doctors do, they have these gloves on. So, but, you know, I'm also a person who worries about microplastics and goes to sleep with a plastic night guard on my teeth. So I don't really, I can't really complain.
Right, here I am vaping. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
All right, next link. Next link.
This is a short one for us from Popular Mechanics. Archaeologists deciphered 2 ancient tablets. They contained records of blood money payments.
Ooh.
Yeah. So ancient Assyrian merchants often jotted down commercial and economic details on tablets as any business owner would, but they also kept track of something more sinister, which is blood money. Paying out blood money was a fact of life known in Old Assyrian as damam, a legal proceeding with dramatic ramifications.
Is it kind of like when you get money to give blood? I'm guessing that's what this is, right?
Yes, exactly. You can stop listening now. That's all there is to it.
That's a good thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, spoiler, people died a lot and people killed each other a lot back then. So, you know, there's accounting still. Like, they still had insurance and they still had, you know, all that stuff that you had to worry about.
How do we know this wasn't insurance fraud?
Yeah. We don't. I mean, that may be the next story, you know, like Ea-nasir is involved somehow. Like, it goes deep.
Ea-nasir, you can't trust that guy, man. You know he was paying fake blood money.
So, a study published in the journal Adalia by a pair of scholars from Turkey's Ankara University detailed the investigation of 2 previously unread cuneiform tablets from the ancient city of Kultepe, aka Cannes, the most important center of trade in Assyria's growing colonies about 4,000 years ago. The authors wrote, Assyrian merchants encountered various challenges during their commercial activities in Anatolia, with personal and caravan security being among the most pressing concerns. Anatolian kings were obligated to ensure the safety of Assyrian merchants and their goods within their territories. When an Assyrian merchant was killed in Anatolian territory, the local king was to investigate and arrange compensation. If authorities failed to offer compensation, sanctions were imposed, as was the case when Assyrian merchant Enam Asarwas was murdered and the kingdom of Ptolemy refused to cooperate with the family. Assyria responded by cutting off trade with Ptolemy. The Kultepe tablets helped reconstruct some of the compensation practices, but, as with past finds, it's clear there was no standardized method or fixed payment amount. While silver was often the payment of choice along with copper, tin, or textiles, the authors note that an individual's social status and ethnicity played a crucial role in the value given to the case. Tale as old as time, right?
Yeah. Life has always had a value, I guess.
Yeah. According to the ancient treaty's terms, when the blood of an Assyrian is shed in your city, you will give us the specified amount as blood money, and we will kill him, the murderer. You will not give us another person instead of the real murderer. I like that they had to specify that.
Yeah, because otherwise they're just like, who's my least favorite servant? All right, go on. Like,
Yeah. Like, you know, they say regulations are written in blood, but this is pretty literal. So the blood money tradition was so deeply embedded in ancient Near Eastern culture that it hasn't even entirely disappeared. The authors wrote, the practice of blood money, which has an essential place among the cultural and legal life of Anatolian and Mesopotamian societies, is a part of the official or customary law practices used by many societies in the world, even today.
Yeah, including ours. Like, that's just the civil court system, and where O.J. Simpson is not guilty of killing his wife, but he is guilty of paying a bunch of money.
Or, this person died in your factory.
Yeah. We do blood money. We do damum. It just has extra steps.
Yeah. We should absolutely start calling our civil court system the blood money court. And then maybe people will think twice about bringing a suit. I don't know.
Maybe not, though, considering this is America.
Yeah, that turns into like a weird flex badge of honor.
Yeah,
I got my blood money. Yeah.
Next link.
Next link.
Okay. This comes from the BBC. We're closer than ever to bringing back life from cryogenic freezing.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Researchers from the Friedrich Alexander University in Nuremberg succeeded in freezing brain tissue from mice and then restoring its function.
What?
While only a small portion of the brain tissue was revived, the neurons were able to share electrical signals and even maintain the complex processing required for memory and learning. Before doing the experiment, I was not convinced this would work. Lead author Dr. Alexander German at the university. In some ways, nature has already figured out cryosleep. The Siberian salamander, for example, can survive at temperatures of 50 degrees C or 58 degrees Fahrenheit below freezing, lying dormant for years in permafrost before returning to a normal activity when temperatures rise. The secret is in its liver, which produces glycerol, a natural antifreeze that prevents ice crystals from forming inside the cells. That's the biggest problem, ice crystals. Crystals grow inside and between cells, mechanically tearing apart the delicate nanostructure of living tissue. This is the team solution, a technique called vitrification. Instead of allowing water to crystallize, vitrification replaces much of the tissue fluid with a cocktail of cryoprotective chemicals, then cools it fast enough that molecules are locked in a glass-like state. Both glass and ice are hard solids, but glass has a random structure, meaning no crystals and therefore no mechanical damage. They then focused their experiments on the hippocampus, a small structure in the brain responsible for memory and learning. Slices of the mouse's hippocampus, about 3 times the thickness of a human hair, were stepped through progressively higher concentrations of the V3 solution before rapidly cooling on a liquid nitrogen chilled copper cylinder at negative 196 degrees Celsius for between 10 minutes and 7 days. Upon thawing, the scientists found the structures of the neurons were preserved, with the electrical recordings showing they were firing and communicating across the hippocampus circuitry. But the real prize was something called long-term potentiation. It's widely considered the cellular basis of how we learn and remember things, and it was still working. That mattered to German because LPT requires a whole chain of cellular machinery to operate at once. Signaling chemicals, receptors activated, calcium ions. The fact that this was all still operating after complete freezing suggests the tissue had survived vitrification in far better shape than expected.
Well, it's still just a slice of a brain. It's not like the mouse started walking around.
Correct.
No, but the electrical activity was...
Yeah. No, it's still insanely cool. But I'm just saying, this isn't going to happen in my lifetime.
Correct. And you said the most immediate use are earthbound rather than interstellar. Surgeons who remove brain tissue currently have to study it straight away. A working vitrification method would let those samples be banked and revisited years later. We're not getting off the planet anyway, like I said earlier, by the time we figure this out. So,
all right. Well, that is all we have time for today. We're so glad you've joined us. Some of the articles we did not have time to get to today include how a giant squid attack became an urban legend, the most dangerous job in crime, and France in the year 2000 as envisioned in 1899. So all that and more, plus everything we talked about today, can be found on damninteresting.com. If you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.